Dear students, welcome to the class MA112. We are going to continue today with section 6.9, and you can find it in page 360 of the textbook. You also have your homework for pages 360A and 369, number 6, 7, 9, 59, and 63. Today we are going to be covering factoring a trinomial of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is equal to 1. And we are going to be doing the quadratic equation, solving a quadratic equation, and that is what we're going to do today. So let's get. And so, welcome to the class. Hoping that everything is going well with you. So this is what we're going to do today: factoring a trinomial of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And notice that a is equal to 1. It's a simple case that we're going to be working on. So I'll show you how to solve this in terms of finding the roots, which means the solutions to this problem. Let's do it by way of an example. Let's say that we have something like, they tell you to factor x squared plus 6x plus 8. And then ask you to factor that. And typically we know that in order for this to work, we need to make this equal to 0. That's something that needs to be done, equal to 0. And so now what we need to do is set up two parentheses, right? We make them equal to 0. Those basically is telling us to find the root. And we put our x on each side here. Now the technique basically says that you have to find the values that matches the b. This is your b. And this is your c, right? So you have to match that. We know that a is equal to 1 here. Our a, basically we don't write it, but we know it's a 1 here, right? Typically, when we have our number 1, basically we don't write it, we know that it's there, right? And so what we need to find is basically the value of the b and the c. And the way to do this is basically you multiply a number, right, such that those numbers give you 8. So multiply, right, some factors that gives you 8. But also the sum of those numbers is going to give you b, which is 6, right? So that's the approach that we're going to follow. So where are those numbers? And so we can try here also the signs. We know that the multiplication and addition has to be positive in this case. So in this case we can try 4 and 2, right? So we multiply 4 times 2. It gives us 8, so that checks. And also we add 4 and 2, and that gives you 6. So that's the values that we have found to be the solution. So now to test, we need to test the solution to make sure that both values correspond to the solution as we found. So now to find the solution, we say that x is equal to -4. We need to solve this so that this factor is equal to 0, this factor is equal to 0, and also x is equal to -2. All right, those are the solutions right here, right? These are our solutions that we need to test. And so we need to go back to the equation over here. So we have x squared plus 6x plus 8 is equal to 0. We plug the 4 and we get what? Minus 4 squared plus 6 times minus 4 plus 8 is equal to 0. This is 16. This is minus 24 plus 8, and that is equal to 0. That's what we're checking, right? And this one we know that 24 minus 24 is equal to 0. So the answer checks, right? So this solution checks. We need to do the same thing also for when x is equal to minus 2. So to do that, we now take this value here, minus 2 squared plus 6 times 2, this is minus, plus 8 is equal to 0. That's what we're checking, right? So this will be 4 plus, here would be minus 12. In this case, it's minus 12 plus 8. And as you know, we want to check whether this is equal to 0. We go back here and we know that 12 minus 12 is equal to 0. So the answer checks, right? So basically, that's what you do when you're factoring numbers to find the solutions. Make sure that you do it step by step. There are some exercises for you to try in the homework. And if you have any questions, again, please send me. Let's continue with the work. Now we are going to move into the area of solving quadratic equations using this quadratic formula. Again, the general form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. And then we have the quadratic formula here that you need to make sure that you memorize it. It's important. And basically it says that you have two solutions. Basically it says x1, 2. In some books you will just write this something like this, right? But it's assumed that you know that when you take the square root of a number, you get two solutions, all right? So I prefer for you to write it this way, so it's already known that we are looking for two numbers. So quadratic equation will give you two solutions. And so now, in this case, what we're going to do is, when we are given a problem, we are going to populate the numbers on the formula so that we can find a solution to the problem. Let's consider one example. Let's continue with the example. We have the value for a, here is 1, right? When you have a factor of 1, basically you don't mark it. And then you have the b is equal to c, 6, and the c is equal to 8. So that's the way we are going to label the factors, coefficients of the quadratic equation. So now we are going to use the formula x1, 2, and we are going to write it like this, minus b, so minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all this divided by 2a. And to solve this problem, we need to populate the values into the formula. And notice that I have marked here two values for the value of x. Typically, in some books, you will have a 1x equal to something, but they assume that solving the quadratic equation give you two values, and therefore they don't put it like that. However, in our case, I would prefer that you keep the nomenclature as x1, x2. This way you know that there are two solutions. And now let's solve this problem. It's the same problem that we had from the previous example when we did the factoring, but now we're going to use the quadratic formula. So let's plug in the values. Minus b. B is the value of 6, right? So it's minus 6 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So that's 6 squared minus 4. A is 1. And our c is equal to 8. So we put 8. And all this is divided by 2a, which is 1. Right? So that's basically how you populate the formula. And from then on, all you need to do is calculate the numbers. So you have minus 6 plus or minus. This one will give you 36, right? Minus 32. 4 times 6 is 32. And all this divided by 2. And again, here, you have a minus 6 plus or minus divided by 2. And here you get the square root of 4. Right? And so we continue solving the equations here. We have the x1 is equal to, you have a 2 plus 6, you get minus 6. So basically you divide this by 2, it gives you 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. And the x2 will give you the minus sign. This will add, so it will be a minus a divided by 2 is minus 4. And basically those are the solutions to your problem. Then you can write down the solution as x1 is equal to minus 2 and x2 is equal to minus 4. Again, the key here is to be able to populate the values into the quadratic equation. If you were able to populate everything according to the steps, putting the actual values into the formula, you will get to the right answer. So in the homework, there are some examples for you to do that. And remember, this is a minus sign here and the minus b here. Remember, when adding numbers, how to do it with the signs that corresponds to it. And again, before you complete the assignment, make sure that you check the solution, right? That's something that we need to do going forward. We check the solution, which means that we go back here and we plug in the values for x is equal to minus 2 and x is equal to minus 4, and everything has to give you 0, and we've already done that in the previous example. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next clip. Thank you very much.